Chapter 97. It was just that the Shao clan security did not expect that there would be someone who dared to come here alone. This aura was not bad, and they did not know where that prop came from. GGG. Death Mage naturally wouldn't be able to speak, and only Wei Chang was able to understand what Death Mage was saying. Imperial translation: they're here to collect their debt. Where did this lunatic come from? Get lost. Otherwise, we'll beat you up. One of the security guards took out an electric baton and poked it in his palm. GGG, Imperial translation: if it wasn't for His Honor's request to only kill one person, the two of you would have long turned into dust on the ground. Yo, I'm giving you face but you don't want it. What the hell are you laughing at? See if I don't beat you to death. Two rays of black light shot out from Death Mage's hand, and the security guards who were still acting arrogantly just a moment ago were instantly unable to move. They were unable to even shout out, and only their eyes were filled with shock and fear. The jaws of the spy squatting outside almost dropped to the ground. Damn it! They weren't here to be funny, they were here to cause trouble. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Quick, report the situation here. Very quickly, the situation at this side fell into the ears of the various big clans. The sky above Zijin City was suddenly covered by a layer of dark clouds, and it was filled with oppression. Death Mage walked past the two of them, and with a push of his arms, the front door of the Shao family was easily pushed open. When the security guards inside saw that the front door was pushed open by a stranger who was dressed like a Grim Reaper, without saying anything, they immediately took out their guns and opened fire. Bang, bang, bang. The gunshot was so ear-piercing in the quiet night. Shao Yi had just turned off the lights, and Yuqi's underwear was already down to her knees. Suddenly, there was a gunshot. How many years has it been? When did so many gunshots come from the Shao family? The two wives were also shocked. Nangong Sini immediately turned on the lights. Brother Shao. Shao Yi put on his pajamas and frowned. Don't come out, I'll go take a look. Be careful. The two girls warned. They were wondering who had come to the Shao clan. How audacious of him. However, the gunshots outside became less and less. Soon, it became quiet. The two women looked at each other and relaxed. It seemed that Shao Yi had been taken care of. Let's go out and take a look. Nangong Sini said. Yes. Yuqi put on her pajamas and followed beside Nangong Sini. When she went out, she saw 4 beautiful women walking over. It seems like they are all Shao Yi's wives. His luck with women is really not shallow. The 6 wives slowly came to the front yard, and the strange scene made them suck in a breath of cold air. There were even 3 exclamation marks, indicating that Death Mage was very angry. Shao Yi tightly held on to the broken emperor's sword in his hand. I am here to trample on the debt. When have I ever owed someone money? What a joke. Not right. That night 3 days ago, that man. Could it be that that man told me to come here to trample on the debt? Calculating the time that Qin Yutong called me, today just happens to be the 3rd day. Just like that, it's already a match. 50 billion. What that prodigal earned was all cash, and where would I find 50 billion in cash? It is possible to gather the money, but if the capital chain is broken, the company will definitely be suppressed by others. This was also why I wanted to deny the 50 billion, if it was 5 billion, it would still be fine. Nangong Sini also thought so, but she didn't expect that the person who denied the money would come to trample on the debt, and this person even made her husband vigilant. Sisters, let's go in, don't disturb Brother Shao. Nangong Sini said tenderly. Towards her husband, she trusted him a lot. It could be said that her husband had never been defeated before. The women had also seen such a scene before. Although they were worried, they didn't want to distract their husband. All of them returned to the backyard and waited for their husband's triumphant return. Xiao Yi's gaze was deep, and at the same time, the desire that he had been immersed in for a long time was ignited. Being unrivaled is lonely. It has been a long time since I was this excited. Right now, it is hard to find an opponent. It is either that the opponent has some misgivings, or the opponent doesn't dare to. In any case, there are all sorts of reasons. And this person in front of me, wrong. He is not a human. No matter what he came here for today. This battle must definitely be fought, and it must be won. If not, Xiao family will become a laughing stock in the entire north. This is something that is absolutely not allowed to happen. I reckon that right now, there are already a lot of eyes staring at us. Xiao Yi took a deep breath. Let's fight at another place. Death Mage waved his left hand, indicating that he didn't mind. Such a disdainful action caused Xiao Yi to sneer. You don't even know who is standing in front of you. Do you think that I, the Emperor, will be afraid of you? Chapter 98. The two of them instantly disappeared from the Xiao mansion. When they appeared again, they were already in the mountains several kilometers away. This place was desolate and uninhabited, and it was extremely suitable for a fierce battle. Just like what Xiao Yi had expected, all of the leaders of the powerful families in Zijin City knew about what had happened to the Xiao family. At first, he thought that it was just a joke, but he didn't expect that the other party was actually serious. At the other side of the northern suburb of Zijin City, there was a manor that was very modernized. And under the surface of this modernized manor, various kinds of mechanisms were concealed, and all of them were personally designed by Tang Wushuang. That's right. This was Tang Wushuang's home. At this moment, Tang Wushuang had also received the news from his subordinate, and he seemed to be very surprised. There is really someone who dares to provoke Xiao clan. Was that man inflated? Or ignorance? Bam! Bang! I won. Tang Wushuang let out a heavy sigh. He had married over 10 wives, and only after he married them did he realize that all of them were gambling experts. Even his gold desert eagle was used as a gambling cushion. Standing up, Tang Wushuang placed his hands behind his back and let out a long sigh. Why are all the people with the surname Tang so miserable? Could it be that I am the reincarnation of Tang Bohu? Wushuang Quan Anrong walked over with a smile. Tang Wushuang was gratified. Finally, there was someone who was obedient. Anrong, you, Wushuang, I'm out of money. Give me a few million first. Tang Wushuang's entire body froze. Wushuang, I'm just joking. Tang Wushuang couldn't help but rub his wife's nose. Little mischievous, I'm afraid a few million is not enough. How about 10 million? Tang Wushuang requested for a close-up shot of the scene where Tang Wushuang spurted out blood. Alright, I won't joke around anymore. Did something happen on Brother Zhao's side? Quan Anrong pinched her husband's face and smiled. What a fool. Tang Wushuang smiled helplessly, and, there's news. If I didn't guess wrongly, they should be here to collect the debt. Wushuang, Brother Xiao is so powerful. He should be able to settle this easily. And Rong, do you mean that you don't want me to get involved in this matter? Tang Wushuang wrinkled his brows. He didn't understand the profound meaning behind Anrong's words. Quan Anrong held on to Tang Wushuang's arm and walked out of the chess room. Then they arrived at the garden outside. Firstly, Brother Zhao's strength is very powerful, and even if you were to go, you wouldn't be able to do anything. We won't do something like adding flowers to brocade, and if we are going to do something, we will have to do something like sending charcoal in snowy weather. Timely help. Tang Wushuang's brows became very deep. Brother Zhao's reputation in the circle is very big, even surpassing yours. Wushuang, although you don't say it, I can see that you still care about it. Quan Anrong looked at her husband's expression and continued, Tonight, if Brother Xiao is safe and sound, we will pretend that we didn't say anything. If anything happens to Brother Xiao, Wushuang, this is your chance. But Tang Wushuang fell into a multiple-choice question, and it was very hard for him to make a decision. Wushuang, if Brother Xiao really falls tonight, you really have to prepare for a rainy day. Zijin City will undergo another big reshuffle. All the big families, hidden families, sects, the world of cultivators, the world of special abilities, and those who live under the wings of the Xiao family will have to make new choices. But I don't want to betray Brother Xiao. After all, he saved my life. Quan Onrong sighed. How could she not know? But to help her man reach the top, she would have to sacrifice a lot. Wushuang, I'm not asking you to betray Brother Xiao. You just need to be a good person. In an instant, Tang Wushuang understood what his wife meant. If Brother Xiao were to be defeated tonight, then the entire Xiao family would be without a leader, and with the identity of Xiao Yi's brother, he would be able to support the Xiao family once again. Not only that, he would be able to obtain benefits from this, and furthermore, he wouldn't lose his reputation, and other people would even praise him for being loyal. Wushuang, don't think too much. Brother Xiao is very powerful. There are countless people who want to take him down, but none of them succeeded. It's very difficult for the thing we're talking about to happen. If it happens, it'll be your chance. Of course, you don't have to choose this path. After all, it's just a suggestion. Quan Onrong kissed her husband's cheek and walked into the house, but suddenly stopped, as if she had thought of something. Wushuang, you still have a master. Xiao Yi doesn't have this. Tang Wushuang's body trembled. Master. How could he not know that this was a rare opportunity to swallow up the Xiao family? Then, the whole Tang family would be flipped upside down. At that time, the Bai family would be nothing, and there would still be those aristocratic families eyeing them covetously. But the prerequisite was that Xiao Yi had to die. The probability of that was even lower than winning the lottery. And in the western suburb of Zijin City, there was a castle. Looking at it from afar, it looked very much like the vampire castle that was shown in the movies. Furthermore, if one wanted to enter the castle, one had to pass through a drawbridge. This was the place where the Bai family lived, and the woman who lived here was Bai Cixin, who was known as the Beauty of the North. In the living room of the castle, 2 men and a woman were sitting on a sofa that was as red as blood. The woman was Bai Cixin. Just like her name, her skin was extremely white, and even the clothes she was wearing were white as well. On her head, there was a white scarf, which added a sense of mystery to her. On her delicate hands, she was wearing a pair of white gloves. And she was sitting on the main sofa, and the 2 men were sitting on both sides of her. There was no need to talk about the status of the family. Right now, she was holding onto a teacup, and with her bright red lips, she was tasting the newly grown Maojian tea. Debao, don't buy this kind of tea anymore in the future. You know that I'm used to Dahongpo tea. Bai Cixin lightly placed down the teacup. She didn't care about how much this tea was worth at all. In Bai Cixin's heart, there was only good and bad tea. Wang Debao laughed embarrassedly. Wife, recently, Dahongpo tea is in short supply. If you want to drink it, you will have to wait for a while. Look for the person who is hoarding the goods. Bai Cixin said faintly, killing intent surfaced in her tone. Wang Debao liked his wife's aloof look, because at night, he would be aloof. Wife, you have the final say. Bai Qi, who was sitting at the side, was very melancholic. He didn't care whether it was Maojian tea or Dahongpo tea, in any case, it was bitter. Big sister, how are we going to deal with Long and City? Bai Cixin said lightly, they are just some insignificant small figures, during this period of time, don't go to the south. Understood, big sister. Bai Qi paused for a moment, then asked curiously, big sister, we just gave away that 50 billion? Is that true? Bai Qi still didn't understand his own big sister. On the surface, his big sister looked gentle and pleasant, but in the dark, she was actually a female devil. This time, brother-in-law lost 50 billion, and when it was time for him to return the money, he would definitely ask big sister, and big sister actually agreed to it. In actuality, Wang Debao was also curious. He felt that his wife's intention was rather deep, but he didn't dare to ask about it. If he were to ask about it, it would make him seem like an idiot, as if he didn't even understand what was going on. It just so happened that his brother-in-law asked about it, and everything went so smoothly. Debao, what do you think? Bai Cixin suddenly asked her husband. Chapter 99. Wang Debao's fingers subconsciously started trembling, and both of his legs were trembling. Why did she suddenly ask me this question? She's not playing by the rules. How can us men understand the wife's farsightedness? The wife's thoughts are as fine as a needle and meticulous. How can a husband dare to guess the wife's intentions blindly? In any case, everything that the wife says is right, even if she is wrong, she is still right. Wang Debao felt that he had never felt so refreshed before. His bootlicking was done in one go, and there was no pause in the middle. Bai Qi couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Brother-in-law's desire to live actually made his choice of words a lot sharper. Awesome. Bai Cixin lightly tapped onto her husband's forehead and said indifferently, when did I say that I will really give them the 50 billion? Ah. The use of the 50 billion will be tonight. Whether it is worth it or not will also be decided tonight. If it is not worth it, then we will take it back. Zijin City will not have a Qing family anymore. If it is worth it, then it couldn't be any better. The two men were stupefied. My dear wife is wise. Big sister is formidable. The two bootlickers. Perhaps the world might change tomorrow. Shao family and Tang family seem to be in an alliance, but who would be willing to lower their head to the other? This is truly becoming more and more interesting. Bai Cixin shook her head, then rubbed her thumb and index finger together. Let's wait for the result tomorrow morning. Bai Qi, you should sleep early. Hubby, let's go back to our room. Okay, Wang Debao said happily, there is nothing more pleasurable than being able to press down on my wife. Looking at big sister and brother-in-law leaving, Bai Qi couldn't understand, why does big sister like Wang Debao? This is truly depressing. However, not only Tang family and Bai family were discussing, right now, many big figures had woken up from their dreams and were waiting for the results so that they could prepare for their next move. The debt collection this time around was not only a matter of money, it was also related to the interests of a lot of people. Among them, there was more than 50 billion, and Yihua's carelessness caused ripples to appear on the surface of the calm lake. The ripples were gradually forming into ocean waves. The temperature in the mountains was a bit low, but the killing intent that was being emitted out from Xiao Yi's body caused the temperature to drop once again. The tense atmosphere continued to condense, and a wave of killing intent spread out in all directions. Although the broken emperor's sword in Xiao Yi's hand was not unsheathed, there was a sharp and fierce sword qi that was pressing towards Death Mage. Although Xiao Yi was only wearing a nightgown, Xiao Yi was like a king. As long as he waved the broken emperor's sword in his hand, heads would roll and blood would float around. However, this kind of aura was completely useless against Death Mage. However, Death Mage was a ranged fighter, while Xiao Yi was a melee fighter. It was clear that Death Mage was at a disadvantage. Adding on the fact that Xiao Yi was not an ordinary person, he had a lot of battle experience. It was very easy for him to find the opponent's weak point and deal a fatal blow. However, the Death Mage was not just for show. Although the Death Mage had developed a bad habit of betting on football matches, its battle prowess was not to be underestimated. Wei Chang had even said before that the number of experts that had died in the hands of the Death Mage were innumerable, because they had all committed the same mistake, and that was underestimating their enemies. But this time, Death Mage's opponent was an immortal emperor. Although he hadn't reached the peak, it was enough to make him suffer. Furthermore, this time, it wasn't that others were underestimating their enemy, it was Death Mage who had started to underestimate his enemy. Because Death Mage felt that there was no one powerful enough on this planet, even if it was the person in front of him. I don't care if you're here for your debt or your life. Today, you will become a dead soul under my sword. Xiao Yi was not an ordinary person, and he wouldn't wait for his opponent to make the first move. A bright light burst out from Xiao Yi's eyes, and in the blink of an eye, a sword light flew towards Death Mage. Like a ghost, the sword light flew straight towards Death Mage's forehead. When experts were fighting, they definitely wouldn't use their strength at the start. Instead, they would use probing attacks, just like what Xiao Yi was doing. Don't look down on Xiao Yi. If it was Tang Wushuang, he would have to deal with Xiao Yi properly. Although Death Mage looked down on Xiao Yi, he didn't dare to easily receive Xiao Yi's sword attack. What Master said is indeed correct, this man's strength is indeed formidable. No matter if it is his strength or his speed, this man has already seen through the next sword attack. Xiao Yi's gaze became serious. As expected, this man is an expert. Xiao Yi gave up on stabbing towards Death Mage in front of him, and instead, turned around and slashed towards Death Mage. Emperor Broken Sword immediately blossomed with a dazzling light, forming a sword chi that slashed towards the air. The air in front of Xiao Yi immediately flared up, and the trees in front of Xiao Yi were all sliced into two. Death Mage who was behind Xiao Yi gradually disappeared and reappeared not far away from Xiao Yi. His body had already been sliced into two by the sword chi. Actually, in that instant, Xiao Yi felt that there was something wrong with the Death Mage in front of him, so he decisively swung his sword at Death Mage. Looking at the Death Mage who was sliced into two, Xiao Yi once again felt the loneliness of being invincible. Chapter 100. However, no matter what technique you use, no matter if you are a human or a ghost, you will still have to die under my sword. Xiao Yi shouted out lightly as his fingers quickly formed seals. Broken Emperor's sword that was in the sky shot out a dazzling light, and that dazzling light brought along a terrifying power as it struck towards Death Mage who was on the ground. Before the dazzling light even touched the ground, the powerful airwave that was emitted from the dazzling light already caused all of the trees to collapse, instantly razing the ground to the ground. From this, it could be seen just how powerful this move was. And under this terrifying power, there was also a huge sound wave attack. However, Death Mage seems to have no eardrums. Go and die, trash, no matter who it is, don't even think about acting cool in front of me, Xiao Yi. The people who acted cool in front of me have all been sent to hell, and you are no exception. Death Mage really didn't know how to speak. If it was possible, I would definitely have a verbal battle with Xiao Yi. You are still acting cool like this, I will beat you up. Looking at the terrifying dazzling light that was coming towards him, Death Mage controlled the cave of darkness and used it to block in front of him. Then, he secretly took out his phone and looked at the result of the match. The first half has ended, Germany and South Korea have yet to score a goal. I wonder who will score a goal first in the second half. I am truly looking forward to it. The sound that came out from the phone wasn't loud, but Xiao Yi heard it. Him. He still has the mood to watch the World Cup. He is ignoring me, ignoring my aura, ignoring my technique, and even more so, ignoring my ability to act cool. If that's the case, there are only two results today, either you die, or I die. Death Mage quickly kept his phone, then faced Xiao Yi's big move with a serious expression. After all, I have to respect others, I can't trample on others' dignity, and I can't sneakily watch the World Cup while others are using big moves. Go and die. Xiao Yi shouted out, seems like he was really angered by Death Mage's actions. However, the dazzling light shot into the cave, and then, everything returned to normal. A cold wind blew onto Xiao Yi's nightgown, and also blew onto Death Mage's black robe. Right now, Xiao Yi's stupefaction should be accompanied by a sad arrow, only then would it be able to bring out the stupefaction in Xiao Yi's heart. This is impossible. Just who are you? Xiao Yi shouted out gravely. GGG, Imperial Translation, your dad. After Xiao Yi heard this, his face alternated between white and red. He was still teasing him. His eyes narrowed and his hands quickly formed seals. Congratulations, you've successfully angered this emperor. Heaven Punishment Sword Technique, Buddha's Fury 9 Lotus. The broken emperor's sword, which was floating in the air, shone brightly, and the body of the sword trembled violently. Bang! One divided into two, and then more and more. In a split second, the 9 broken emperor's swords floated above the death mage, locking onto the death mage from all directions. Furthermore, the 9 broken emperor's swords were condensing a power that was even more frightening than before. When this power was formed, the entire space around the death mage was violently distorted. Just like Xiao Yi's handsome face, it was incomparably malevolent. Xiao Yi hadn't used this move in a long time. He felt that no one in this world could block it. When he was an immortal emperor, he used it and the opponent disappeared without a trace. One could see how powerful this move was. However, his opponent this time was Death Mage. Wei Chang's valiant general. It stretched out its 10 bony fingers, and black fog appeared on its fingertips, just like before. Imperial Translation, 9 dark acupoints. 9 mirror-like bottomless abysses appeared around Death Mage. Xiao Yi, who was not far away from Death Mage, was stupefied. Just a moment ago, the mirror that Death Mage summoned out swallowed my attack, and this time, I have to continuously shoot out 9 times. And to think that Death Mage summoned out 9 mirror-like things as well. Just what the hell is this? Why are they able to swallow my attack? However, this time, it is different. The might of every single one of the mirror-like things is much stronger than before. No matter how deep your black hole is, I have to pierce through it. As expected. 9 mirror-like light beams shot down from the sky, and the entire sky became as bright as day. The scene was rather spectacular. Even the few people who were floating in the sky a few miles away from Death Mage sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw this scene. As expected of the Xiao family's family master. But, after the 9 mirror-like light beams shot down, the night was still night, the crickets were still chirping, and the people who were stupefied were still stupefied. Xiao Yi rubbed his eyes. After the 9 mirror-like light beams shot down from the sky, not even a fart was let out. How is this possible? Even the weakened version of Buddha's Fury 9 Lotus wouldn't have such an effect. Death Mage let out a strange laughter once again. Don't misunderstand, this is not a mockery. Well, that was a mockery. Death Mage suddenly opened up both of his arms, and a strange black mist suddenly blossomed out from his body. The black mist corroded the ground like a virus, causing Xiao Yi's face to turn pale with fright. The black mist was like a tentacle that was trying to attack him. Xiao Yi did not have the time to think and immediately dodged. Tentacles of Darkness. This was one of the Death Mage's ultimate spells. It had a very strong corrosive power and penetrative power. As long as one was entangled by it, they would suffer a fate worse than death. Moreover, this was a tentacle, and it was big, thick and round. Xiao Yi had never seen such a technique before. He had clearly cut it off, but the tentacles immediately grew back. No matter how he dodged, there were always many tentacles blocking his way. As an immortal emperor, Xiao Yi was like a monkey running around. His sweat quickly soaked his robe. In a split second, Death Mage grabbed hold of Xiao Yi's weak point and controlled his tentacles to form a big fist and punched towards Xiao Yi. Bang! Xiao Yi's body flew out like a cannonball, breaking all the trees along the way. Boom! Xiao Yi fiercely crashed onto the side of a mountain, causing the entire mountain to sway, and all the birds and beasts on the ground to jump in fright. Death Mage picked up the scythe of death that was stabbed into the ground and slowly walked towards the place where Xiao Yi had fallen. Today's mission was not to kill him, but to kill his woman in front of him. I reckon that this kind of feeling will definitely be extremely pleasurable. How did Master think of such a move? More and more people gathered over. They did not enter the battlefield and chose to watch from a few miles away. Some of them were enemies, but for this kind of incomparable battle, they temporarily put aside their grudges. However, from the looks of it, Xiao Yi's opponents were not weak at all. Among these people, there was a man and a woman who were wearing light muslin, and with just a look, one could tell that they were cultivators. Senior Marshal Brother, Xiao family might be in trouble, we should go back and report this to the sect head. Junior Marshal Sister, the sect head had already come to an agreement with Bai family, there is no need to worry. Bai family. Senior Marshal Brother, Bai Zixin is not a good person, cooperating with them, we. Junior Marshal Sister, although Bai Zixin is vicious, we still need Bai family's resources. After this battle, we still have to make a trip to the south. South. Why are we going there? Of course, it is to bring treasures. Curiosity appeared in the Junior Marshal Sister's eyes. What kind of treasures would require them to take the risk to sneak into the south? Everyone was incomparably shocked. Originally, they thought that Xiao Yi would be able to win easily, but from the looks of it now, Xiao Yi's strength had increased by another level. Xiao Yi was completely suppressed by Xiao Yi, and they had never seen Xiao Yi being beaten to this state before. Seems like Zijin City is really going to change. However, as an immortal emperor, how could he not have a trump card? That would be looking down on immortal emperors too much. Right when Death Mage was slowly walking towards Xiao Yi, his body suddenly stopped, and he dodged to the side. However, he was still too slow, his left arm was neatly cut off and fell onto the ground. Right now, Xiao Yi was wearing a golden gown and silver armor, and his hand was holding onto a golden longsword. Although there was a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth and his complexion was not very good, in the end, Xiao Yi was still forced to take out his trump card. When the experts who were watching from afar saw that golden longsword, they couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Chapter 101. When the spectators in the distance saw the Xianyuan sword, they all gasped. A few years ago, there were rumors that the Xianyuan sword had appeared. Who would have thought that it would fall into Xiao Yi's hands? If it wasn't for the fact that he was so strong today, no one would have thought of this. This Xiao Yi really hid his strength deeply, and that armor he was wearing was definitely not ordinary. This trump card was simply a king's trump card. Looking at his opponent, he had lost an arm due to his carelessness. Other than the black robe and the sickle in his right hand, he had nothing else on him. The difference in equipment was too big. Not only would Xiao Yi not lose tonight, but he would also become famous. His reputation would be even higher than before, and the Xiao family's status would also rise because of this battle. Not to mention the other chain reactions. In actuality, the majority of the spectators hoped that Xiao Yi would lose. The current situation required a breakthrough, and tonight was a rare opportunity, just that right now, at this moment, Xiao Yi was holding the Xianyuan sword. The sword was releasing a faint light, and with his golden robe and silver armor, he was like a god descending to the mortal world. Just standing there would cause people to feel fear. But Xiao Yi was shocked. That sneak attack just now could have killed the opponent, but the opponent had discovered it. It was just a broken arm, and from the looks of it, it didn't seem to be of much use. However, he had already taken out the Xianyuan sword and the mystic tortoise strange armor. One was shockingly powerful, while the other had explosive defense. He didn't believe that he couldn't kill this skeleton. I didn't think that Xiao Yi, couldn't be low-key anymore. After tonight, the Shao family will definitely rise to glory once more. Although the plan has been brought forward, it is not a big deal. Let the world witness the true strength of this emperor. The skeleton in front of him was only a stepping stone for him to reach the pinnacle, nothing more. Death Mage turned his head around and took a look at the severed arm on the ground. He felt very surprised, but at the same time, he was also very excited. This human in front of him had finally aroused his desire to fight. He picked up his severed arm and placed it to the side. Then, he took off his black robe and carefully placed his precious phone on it. However, he still couldn't help but open it to take a look. It was still a score of 0. God damn it. Shao Yi silently looked at Death Mage's actions. However, when he saw Death Mage turning on his phone again and hearing the commentator's voice, Shao Yi felt like his lungs were going to explode from anger. This was a very serious battle. Could they keep their hearts on it? But looking at the skeleton, there was no heart at all. How could such a creature appear in this world? It was unimaginable. The spectators also felt a chill down their spines. They had seen skeletons before, but they were just small evil spirits that could be poked to death with a finger. However, the skeleton in front of them had refreshed their worldview. Could it be that it was a Bone King? A divine artifact like the Xianyuan sword could only cut off one of its arms. Unbelievable. With the death scythe in his hand, Death Mage walked towards Shao Yi and stopped 10 meters away from him. GGG, Royal Translation, since you're good at close combat, I'll play with you. The Death Mage was definitely a high-ranked magician, and his specialty would definitely be magic attacks. However, the Death Mage was a bit of a slouch. Actually, every magician had the heart of a warrior in their heart. Kakik. Royal Translation, High-level power enhancement. Kakik. Royal Translation, high-level speed boost. Kakik. Royal Translation, high-level long-lasting support. Kakik. Royal Translation, top-notch defense enhancement. Shao Yi stared blankly at the Death Mage who was crying out weirdly. However, every time the Death Mage cried out, a different light would appear on its body. After the light flashed for more than 10 times, Shao Yi finally came back to his senses. This skeleton was very weird, but Shao Yi also discovered that the Death Mage needed to chant when it was releasing magic. As long as the distance between the Death Mage and the Death Mage got closer, Shao Yi would be able to gain the upper hand. As for the Death Mage's scythe, I reckon that the Death Mage's scythe is just a decoration. Right now, Shao Yi's speed was a few times faster than before, and he immediately disappeared from where he was standing. A trace of red light flashed past Death Mage's hollow eyes as he raised the death scythe in his hand high up. Boom! A majestic black light soared into the sky and broke through the dark clouds above. The moonlight once again shone onto the ground, and under the moonlight, the death scythe blossomed with a silver light. This wasn't just a simple light, the entire death scythe changed from black to silver. The eyes of the spectators who were a few miles away almost popped out. What is going on? How can a skeleton be so awesome, to be able to pierce through the sky with just a slight movement? However, in the next second, everyone was so frightened that they retreated a few miles away. Death Mage could be seen raising the Death Mage's scythe and fiercely slashing it forward. The huge might of the scythe spread out in a fan shape. Boom, boom, boom. Immediately, a series of rumbling sounds rang out in the world, shaking everyone's heart. Wave after wave of air was like a surging giant beast, engulfing everything in front of it. Starting from beneath Death Mage's feet, everything in front of Death Mage's body disappeared. The mountain that was still there just a moment ago had already been evaporated. The might of the Death Mage's scythe was actually so terrifying, everyone was so frightened that they retreated frantically to prevent themselves from getting injured. However, Shao Yi's figure gradually appeared and stood steadily in the sky. The mystic tortoise armor blossomed with a bit of light, and the cloak on his back slowly fluttered. The spectators couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Such a powerful might, and he is actually not injured in the slightest. As expected, Shao family's family head is formidable. However, no one saw that there was a trace of blood on Shao Yi's face. Shao Yi, who was standing in the sky, looked down at Death Mage, and the astonishment in his eyes was unable to be concealed. Just now, I wanted to engage in close combat with Death Mage, and I didn't expect that Death Mage would actually make such a move. This is simply terrifying to the extreme. Not only is this Death Mage capable of long-range combat, he is also capable of close combat. Just who the fuck is this Death Mage? Just when Shao Yi was feeling furious, he suddenly felt a killing intent coming from above his head. Shao Yi's gaze became serious, and the Xian Yuan sword in his hand immediately slashed towards the sky. Bang! The golden Xian Yuan sword and the silver-white death scythe collided head-on, and the resulting shockwave spread out in all directions. Trees were uprooted one after another, and even the people who were standing a few miles away could feel the scorching heat rushing towards their faces. This is a true expert. On the battlefield, Death Mage looked at his scythe, and a crack actually appeared on it after being slashed by Shao Yi's weapon. What a good weapon. Shao Yi also saw this, and he sneered. This emperor's weapon is Xian Yuan's sword, how can it be blocked by a small scythe like yours? However, Shao Yi forgot one thing, just how powerful was Xian Yuan's sword. It was only able to cause a crack on Shao Yi's weapon, and that was enough to prove that Shao Yi's weapon was not ordinary. Of course, Shao Yi would be immensely pleased with himself. After all, he had subconsciously placed Shao Yi on the same level as him, and when he was able to cause damage to Shao Yi, he would definitely feel extremely pleased. Chapter 102. When it comes to close combat, Shao Yi was indeed a veteran. Death Mage was being a little too careless in this aspect. It was clear that he was underestimating his opponent. However, Death Mage, who had all sorts of buffs, was not someone to be trifled with. Die! Shao Yi's killing intent surged. The Xianyuan sword in his hand felt its master's killing intent, and the light on the sword became even more dazzling. The technique that Death Mage was using was incomparably simple, even a child would know about it. Other than slashing, it was just slashing. Right now, the two of them were competing to see who would reveal a flaw first. However, both of them were people who had been through hundreds of battles, so how could it be that easy for them to reveal a flaw? Not a single person could be seen in the entire battlefield, and one could only hear the deafening loud sounds, and the ground that was collapsing in all directions. The people who were watching the battle were all stupefied. To demand a debt to this extent, there really isn't anyone else who can do this. The two of them immediately separated from each other. The scythe in Death Mage's hand was already severely damaged, and the blade of the scythe was uneven. Furthermore, a few of Death Mage's ribs had been broken, and his situation was not very good. Furthermore, Death Mage seemed to have exhausted a bit of his strength. However, Shao Yi was not in a good state either. His golden robe had already been torn into pieces, and the mystic tortoise strange armor that he was wearing was filled with cracks, just like a spider web. Without the defense of the mystic tortoise strange armor, how would Shao Yi be able to withstand Death Mage's crazy attacks? Furthermore, Shao Yi's current situation was more or less the same as Death Mage's. After a long period of consumption, Shao Yi was starting to show signs of fatigue. The amount of spiritual qi in his body was also running out. He quietly took out a pill and stuffed it into his mouth. Shao Yi felt his spiritual energy slowly recovering, but it was useless. He had to finish the battle quickly. Ha! Shao Yi shouted, and the Xianyuan sword in his hand shone brightly again. Xianyuan art, furious slash. Shao Yi's eyes immediately turned golden, and his entire body leapt up high into the air. The sword that he was holding with one hand became a two-handed sword, and the powerful pressure that he emitted caused the ground that Death Mage was standing on to collapse. This time, Xiao Yi didn't attack Death Mage, but the weapon in Death Mage's hand. Because Xiao Yi felt that Death Mage's weapon was on the verge of breaking. As long as Death Mage's weapon was cut off, Death Mage's disadvantage would be revealed. This was the difference between their equipment. Xiao Yi was wearing a full set of godly equipment, while Death Mage's entire body was filled with skeletons. If it wasn't for the fact that Xiao Yi was buffed with magic, Death Mage would have long been chopped into pieces by the Xianyuan sword. However, Death Mage also knew that he did not have much mana left, and his mood was exceptionally terrible. This damned human actually made me so miserable. Boom! The two weapons clashed against each other again, and just like what Xiao Yi had expected, Death Mage's weapon was instantly cut into two. The silver-white light disappeared, and Death Mage's weapon returned to its original black color. When Death Mage saw that his scythe was cut into two by a human, he immediately let out a roar that would make people tremble with fear. Black fog began to emit out from Death Mage's entire body. Death Mage had already lost his rationality. If Master were to find out that he still ended up like this after dealing with a human, where would his face be? Where would his honor's face be? Damned humans, go to hell. Use your blood to wash away your shame. A huge amount of magic power burst out from Death Mage's body, and the people who were a few kilometers away immediately felt as if a small mountain was pressing down on their bodies. Without caring about anything else, they immediately activated their movement techniques and immediately ran for their lives. However, when they were running for their lives, every single one of them coughed out a few mouthfuls of blood. And Xiao Yi, who was the closest to Death Mage, was able to sense the craziness of Death Mage even more clearly. His gaze was filled with shock and fear. I never thought that Death Mage would be this abnormal. If Death Mage had used his full strength from the start, I might not have been able to defend against him. But now... Xiao Yi quickly stuffed a few pills into its mouth. Right now, he could only fight with his life on the line. If it didn't die, then he would die. Xianyuan art, blood sacrifice. This was the move that Xiao Yi did not want to use the most. It was a move that would cause him to lose 3,000 of his life force. Although he could instantly increase his strength, the side effect was that his lifespan and cultivation would decrease. If he were to use this move, he might not even be able to defeat Tang Wushuang. However, he had no choice but to use it. Xiao Yi grabbed onto the Xianyuan sword with his left hand, and fresh blood immediately gushed out from the Xianyuan sword. The Xianyuan sword was like a gluttonous child as it continuously sucked the blood out of the Xianyuan sword. Xiao Yi's complexion quickly turned pale. However, in just an instant, a power that could destroy the heavens and earth surged out from his body. This power made Xiao Yi feel as if he was back in the past. Xianyuan art, divine destruction. Xiao Yi's body could be seen emitting a golden light, and it actually merged with the Xianyuan sword. The Xianyuan sword flickered with a multicolored light, and the sword chi spread out in all directions, bringing with it an aura that could crush everything in the world. The temperature in the surroundings suddenly rose, and the aura of a monarch was being emitted from the Xianyuan sword, causing people to have the urge to worship it. However, all of this was useless against Death Mage. Right now, he only wanted to wash away his shame, even if he had to pay the price. This time, Xiao Yi's timing was very good. He made a decisive decision and used this move without any hesitation. After all, Death Mage was still in the middle of chanting the Xianyuan sword, and he had yet to complete the super magic. In the next moment, Xianyuan sword flew towards Death Mage, and everything that it passed through turned into dust. Soon after, the Xianyuan sword fiercely collided with the edge of the black mist, and a dazzling light immediately blossomed out from the Xianyuan sword, lighting up the night sky once again. Death Mage resisted the power of the Xianyuan sword with all his might. However, He had lost his left arm, and adding on the fact that his magic was exhausted, he was completely unable to resist against Xiao Yi, who had used a forbidden technique. Xianyuan's sword slowly pierced through the layer of black mist and headed straight towards Death Mage, who was within the black mist. Your Honor. Master. Subordinate has failed in his task. The scorching heat emitted out from Xianyuan's sword instantly turned Death Mage into dust, and after the black mist dispersed, the world returned back to normal. Splash, splash, splash. Heavy rain suddenly started pouring down from the sky, and the rain fell onto the ground that looked like tofu dregs, and onto a person's body. The black tortoise bizarre armor that Xiao Yi was wearing was already completely broken apart, and only the shoulder guard was left. Right now, Xiao Yi was supporting himself with Xianyuan's sword, and blood was flowing out from his mouth non-stop. I didn't expect that layer of black mist to be so powerful, to be able to heavily injure me once again, making my situation even worse. Luckily, I managed to kill the black mist without any mishaps. Just that, the injuries that Xiao Yi received will probably take at least 10 years to recover. Cough, cough, cough. Xiao Yi let out a violent cough, and with every cough, blood would spurt out from his mouth. Xiao Yi's entire body was pale and powerless, just like a corpse. Although he managed to kill Death Mage, he wasn't any better off. Even his strongest defense, the Mystic Tortoise Bizarre armor, was shattered, and not to mention the side effects of the forbidden technique, Xiao Yi paid a painful price in exchange for victory. Congratulations to Xiao family head for defeating a strong enemy, we admire you greatly. Congratulations to Xiao family head, we admire you greatly. Xiao family head's heroic bearing is extraordinary, we admire you wholeheartedly. A few figures landed beside Xiao Yi, and Xiao Yi had no choice but to prop his body up and pretend to be very relaxed. Furthermore, he even had to carry a smile on his face. However, this smile of his caused the injuries within his body to worsen, causing him to be unable to vomit blood out. Right now, I am very weak. If they want to attack me, I don't even have the strength to fight back at all. Furthermore, who doesn't want to possess a treasure like Xianyuan's sword? To be able to kill such a strong enemy is more than enough to prove everything. Xiao Yi straightened his back and coldly swept his gaze across everyone. The latter couldn't help but take a step back. I didn't expect that this Xiao Yi still has strength. Chapter 103. Enduring the dizziness, Xiao Yi left the scene. Everyone let out a sigh of relief. They were really afraid that Xiao Yi would kill someone. On the way back, Xiao Yi couldn't endure it anymore and vomited blood. After eating a few medicinal pills, he felt a bit better and found a water source to wash his face. He didn't want his wives to worry. Even though he had wiped off the bloodstains, he still exuded a sickly aura, as if he was about to die. After returning to the Xiao mansion, Xiao Yi was in a daze. It was as if he could faint at any moment, as if he was drunk. The 6 wives sat in the front hall, anxiously waiting for their husbands to return. When they saw their husbands stumbling over, the wives immediately went forward to support them. Brother Xiao, what's wrong? Where are you hurt? Nangong Sini's expression changed greatly. This was the first time she saw Xiao Yi so weak. Sini, hurry up and support Brother Xiao. Let me see. The woman who spoke was precisely Xu Nan. Her medical skills were outstanding, and back then, she also fell in love with Xiao Yi's medical skills. Xiao Yi replied weakly, I'm fine. Hold him down. Xu Nan said in a tender voice. She placed her delicate hand on her husband's wrist, and her expression immediately changed. It was too heavy. It was already a miracle that he was still alive. Xu Nan, how is Brother Xiao? Yu Qi asked hurriedly. Xiao Yi gave Xu Nan a look. Xu Nan sighed, Brother Xiao is fine. He will be fine after a few days of rest. However, in his heart, he was afraid that he would not recover even after a few years of rest. But the other wives would rather believe this result. In Long and City's midnight snack stall, Wei Chang and Tang Wei sat at the side of a small table, eating skewers. Tang Wei told Wei Chang about the interesting things that happened when she was young, and Wei Chang listened attentively and drank a mouthful of beer from time to time. Instantly, Wei Chang frowned. "Uncle Wei, do you feel uncomfortable?" Wei Chang smiled. "Maybe I drank too much cold beer. I'm going to the toilet." "Uncle Wei, I told you not to drink too much ice. Let me help you over." "Xiao Tang, your Uncle Wei, am not that weak. Just sit here and wait for me." Wei Chang pressed Tang Wei down, and the moment he turned around, his face was extremely black. Death Mage actually died. How was this possible? After walking into the toilet inside the supper stall, Wei Chang closed the door and said in a deep voice, "Evil spirit, Death Mage." A black vortex appeared on the ground. The black robe, the scythe of death with the smell of death, appeared once again. Of course, there was also the skeleton. "Master!" Death Mage shouted out with deep regret, and prepared to greet Yi Hua. Wei Chang shouted in a low voice, "All right, stop kneeling, the ground is very dirty." "What's going on?" "I told you to collect a debt and kill someone. How did you end up killing yourself?" Wei Chang was unable to understand. Death Mage's strength was not weak. Even if he couldn't defeat Death Mage, he should still be able to run away. Yet, he was actually killed by someone. "Master, I'm suffering too." "Master, it is subordinate who has underestimated the enemy, and has brought shame to his honor and master. Let subordinate complete this mission, and then use my death to atone for my sins." To be honest, Death Mage didn't want to be summoned by his master again. It was too shameful. This was what it meant to be reckless. He lost completely because of his recklessness. Wei Chang's mood wasn't very good either. If his honor were to know that there was such a process in the mission this time around, I wonder what kind of rage his honor would have. Wei Chang seemed to have already heard his honor's curses. "Enough, I don't want to listen to your explanation. You better keep this matter to yourself. If this matter were to be spread out, the first person that I will kill is you." Who would dare to talk about such a shameful matter to others? Just how shameful would that be? "Master, be at ease, subordinate will keep my mouth shut." Wei Chang paused for a moment, then asked while wrinkling his brows, "Is that Xiao Yi really that powerful? Even you are not his match." "Master, that Xiao Yi is indeed not bad. He is the strongest human that subordinate has ever seen." However, subordinate did not lose to him, rather, subordinate lost to him. Death Mage said embarrassedly. "This is all because Master's requirements are too high. I can't kill Xiao Yi. I can only cripple Xiao Yi. Controlling Xiao Yi is very difficult." Wei Chang couldn't help but slap onto Death Mage's skull. "Who did you learn this kind of conduct from? I will give you one last chance. If you are still unable to complete this mission, then you will have to stay in purgatory forever. I will obey Master's command." Death Mage held back a stomach full of anger. This damned human actually caused me to be reprimanded by Master. If it wasn't for Master only ordering me to kill one person, would have definitely slaughtered all of them. Go. Seeing that subordinate had disappeared, Wei Chang rubbed onto the bridge of his nose. In the end, didn't his honor still lose because of being reckless? Sigh, which of the 7 sins isn't reckless? In actuality, Death Mage can't be blamed. His understanding of human nature is too little. Perhaps it is time for him to find a girlfriend. Death Mage expressed that I am not interested in women, I am only interested in balls. Knock, knock, knock. Uncle Wei, is your diarrhea very bad? I bought medicine for you just now. Tang Wei knocked on the door and shouted out tenderly. Hearing Tang Wei's voice, Wei Chang, who had a bad temper, gradually relaxed. Opening the door, Wei Chang smiled and said, "Xiao Tang, I am fine now." "Uncle Wei, why does your complexion look so bad? Let me bring you to the hospital." Chapter 104. Death Mage stood there woodenly and didn't make any movements. It was as if he was a relative or friend who had come to visit him. However, everyone present knew that he didn't come with good intentions. Xiao Yi's wives knew that they weren't a match for this monster, but they still protected him. If he wanted to die, he would kill them first. If Lai Gu was here, he would definitely take Xiao Yi in and train him well. Lai Gu wasn't a picky eater, and furthermore, all of Xiao Yi's wives were beautiful and alluring. It was a pity that Death Mage wasn't interested in them. "Get out! You're not welcome here." Yu Qi didn't know where she got her courage from, but she shouted in a deep voice. Xiao Yi propped himself up from the chair. He was afraid that he would be doomed tonight. "Let them out. Your opponent is me," Xiao Yi coldly said. However, the moment he spoke, his wound opened up and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. "Brother Xiao, you can't fight anymore." Shu Nan immediately supported her husband and used her white sleeves to wipe off the blood stains. Her eyes were filled with worry. Yu Qi nodded. "Brother Xiao, although we don't know much about martial arts, we can still fight with this monster." Xiao Yi gasped for breath. Now wasn't the time to be a hero. He had to run as fast as he could. "Why are you so disobedient? Let's go." Xiao Yi cried out in pain. He didn't know that he would have such a day. In the past, it was always him who made others suffer, but now it was his turn. Was this heaven's retribution for him? Nangong Sini supported her husband and said softly, "Brother Xiao, even if we die, we will die together." "Yes. That's right." The eyes of the 6 women were firm. They did not wish to be born on the same day, but they wished to die on the same day. "Why are you doing this, Sini? Take good care of Yun her. Yu Qi, be a good girl and give birth to your daughter." Xiao Yi's tone was almost pleading. However, the girls had already made up their minds. If they were to die, they would die together. "Do you want me to kneel down and beg you?" Xiao Yi roared angrily and immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Yu Qi's white pajamas were instantly dyed red. "Brother Xiao, Brother Xiao." Right when the two of them were reluctant to part with each other, Death Mage finally moved. Stretching out his hand, Death Mage pointed towards the phone that was on the table. Everyone was shocked. Xiao Yi said in a deep voice, "Give it the phone." Nangong Sini picked up the phone and passed it to Death Mage. When Death Mage held onto the phone, he discovered that it was not unlocked, so he gestured to Nangong Sini. This hand phone belonged to Shu Nan. Looking at the skeleton in front of her, she did not feel any fear in her heart. She picked up the handphone from the skeleton's hand and scanned her own face, then heavily threw the handphone onto Death Mage's hand. GGG, Imperial Translation, he has character. He reached out his hand and tapped on the screen of his phone, and the screen lit up. It was still scrolling. It was still the same word. "Pay back the money." Everyone was startled. I had originally thought that the other party was here to take revenge, but I didn't expect that the other party was still here to return the money. Why is he so stubborn? Xiao Yi heaved a sigh of relief. If it was just money, then it was fine. "Sini, prepare the money," Xiao Yi said weakly. Nangong Sini frowned. "We don't have that much cash. Even if we want to raise money, it's not something that can be done in a short while." "Then we'll use real estate to pay for it," Xiao Yi said. Although it was not worth it, it was the only hope to save his family. Nangong Sini nodded her head. Suddenly, she felt that Wang Debao was too much of a mechanism. "A few days ago, I was still laughing at him for being stupid, but I didn't expect that he was actually a smart person. Regret, I blame myself for randomly coming up with this idea. Wait a moment, I'll go and write the transfer letter. Nangong Sini said coldly. Death Mage actually nodded his head, causing everyone to let out a sigh of relief. As long as the problem could be solved with money, then it wouldn't be a problem. Suddenly, Death Mage saw a television that was placed at the side. Under everyone's astonished gaze, Death Mage walked over, turned on the television, and selected CCTV 5. However, the match had just ended, and when Death Mage saw the score on the television, his entire person felt bad. Forget about being killed once, I even lost the ball. I even lost all of my belongings. I can't tolerate this anymore. I'm going to castrate those useless humans. They can't even win against South Korea. Xiao Yi was feeling very bad right now. From the start until now, the other party had already watched the World Cup 4 times, and 2 of those times were even during the World Cup. Why is it so attached to the World Cup? Why did I lose to such a strange opponent? Why? My illustrious reputation has been ruined tonight. Bang! Death Mage smashed the coffee table with a punch, giving everyone a fright. Death Mage thought that the other party was going to flip out, but who knew that he would walk back and forth, point at the television and let out that horrifying voice, seemingly as if he was cursing at the television. After cursing at the television, Death Mage decided that he was going to get back his money. Those money that they had was illegal. I have the right to get it back. After I finish this matter, I will go and get back my debt. In any case, I had gambled 1,000 RMB, and that was all of my belongings. Recently, Master has been giving me very little work, and I am not able to earn much money. I am even almost unable to pay the electricity bill. And this time, I am also unable to draw any water from the 50 billion that I stepped on. That is His Honor's money. Just thinking about it makes me scared. Death Mage turned his head around and took a look at the beauties. The things that are on their necks, fingers, and wrists, those things seem to be quite valuable. Xiao Yi's wives naturally noticed Death Mage's gaze. Although Death Mage doesn't have any eyeballs, they were still able to feel that Death Mage was looking at their bodies. This shameless skeleton. Death Mage hugged onto his side and walked here and there. Sometimes, he would even walk to the side of the 6 women and look at their progress. Death Mage was acting just like a loafer. Xiao Yi found it hard to believe that he would lose to an opponent like this. Death Mage doesn't even have a bit of the demeanor of an expert. In any case, I have killed you once, but you don't even look at me, you are simply a bastard. Did your hatred get eaten by dogs? About half an hour later, Nangong Sini finished drafting the transfer documents, and even stamped her official seal and signature on the documents. Nangong Sini handed over the documents and said coldly, the market value of these 3 companies is more than 50 billion. Only more, no less. Death Mage didn't even look at the documents and kept them into his bosom, then pointed at the beauties. The 6 beauties couldn't help but take a step back. Xiao Yi even slammed the table and stood up, but very quickly, he vomited out a mouthful of blood and sat back down. Right now, Death Mage just wanted to say, the thoughts of you humans are too dirty. After Death Mage signaled to the women finally understood. This skeleton wants jewelry. However, these jewelry were all given to them by Xiao Yi. Although they were a bit reluctant to part with these jewelry, but no matter how reluctant they were, they still had to hand over the jewelry. Death Mage happily kept the jewelry, then picked up his phone and tapped on it again. He was preparing to do one last thing. Death Mage took out his phone. Collect interest. Xiao Yi and the others cursed at Death Mage for being shameless. These 3 companies are all worth more than 50 billion, and yet, Death Mage still wants to collect interest. However, when Xiao Yi saw the last few words on the phone, his heart sunk. 1 life. Death Mage seemed to have forgotten something as he typed out another message. Chapter 105. Death Mage recalled his master's instructions. It seems to be like this, if I didn't remember wrongly. Xiao Yi's entire body was shaking. This was going too far. He actually wanted him to kill the person he loved the most. Otherwise, all of them would die. Xiao Yi opened his bloodshot eyes wide and suddenly shouted, "Bastard! I'll fight it out with you. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Brother Xiao, don't move anymore, you will die if you continue like this." Shu Nan knew that her husband's injuries must have worsened again. "Don't pull me, I want to perish together with it." Xiao Yi rolled and crawled over to Death Mage's side, then grabbed onto Death Mage's bones and shouted angrily. Death Mage remained indifferent as he waited for them to make their choice. It has been a long time since I have heard such words from Death Mage, and I am feeling a bit nostalgic. Nangong Sini didn't pull her husband. She said softly, "Brother Xiao, you often saved me in the past. This time, it's Sini's turn to save you and the whole Xiao family." Xiao Yi turned his head in a daze and looked at his wife's gentle smile. Bits and pieces of their past flashed through his mind like a movie. No. No. Sini, you can't do this. Xiao Yi couldn't even stand up and crawled to his wife. Nangong Sini squatted down and combed her husband's hair. She gently wiped the blood from the corner of her husband's mouth. "Brother Xiao, to be able to know you, Sini has never regretted in this life. Although you were very annoying at the beginning, I still like you. After I leave, you have to take good care of Yunair, understand?" Xiao Yi stretched out his trembling hand and caressed his wife's cheek. "Don't, we still have a long way to go, Yun cannot be without a mother." "Brother Xiao, Sister Sini, let me do it." Shu Nan took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. Yuqi couldn't stop crying. "Let me do it. Yuqi, you have a child. Let me do it. Let me do it, Brother Xiao." Nangong Sini's eyebrows furrowed as she lightly shouted, "All of you, shut up. Your mission in the future is to take good care of Brother Xiao. This was all my idea. If I had asked Brother Xiao to return the money, this wouldn't have happened. I should be the one to bear the consequences." Death Mage seemed to have become impatient from waiting. "Hurry up and kill one of them so that I can go and collect the debt from the others." He, Imperial Translator, hurry up. Nangong Sini could tell that he was telling them to hurry up. She said softly, "Brother Xiao, let me do something for the Xiao family. Otherwise, Yun will not be safe. Where there's life, there's hope. Don't look down on women." Nangong Sini was asking her husband to endure and wait for him to rise again. "Brother Xiao, Sini won't be able to take care of you in the future. You have to take good care of yourself and Yun. He's our only son." Nangong Sini, who had always been strong, couldn't help but burst into tears when she thought of her son. As an immortal emperor, Xiao Yi had never cried before. But now, his face was full of tears and helplessness. "Sini, let me kill you. How could I do it?" Xiao Yi cried out in pain. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth and his eyes were bloodshot. Nangong Sini immediately stood up, picked up the Xianyuan sword at the side, and then placed it in her husband's hand. "Brother Xiao, since things have come to this, do you want to see us all die? Do you want to see Yun die? Do you want to see the child in Yuqi's belly die? Since when did you become so indecisive?" Xiao Yi had never felt that the Xianyuan sword was so heavy. He looked at his wife and said, "I can't do it, I really can't do it." Just when the Xiao family was reluctant to part with the Xianyuan sword, a black whirlpool appeared in the hall. A figure walked out from the whirlpool, and his entire body was wrapped in black mist. The Xiao family was all stupefied. Who is this? However, in the next second, they were even more shocked. Death Mage retreated a few steps and knelt on the ground. With both of his hands on the ground, he respectfully shouted, "Master." That's right, the person who came was Wei Chang. He had just sent Tang Wei home and realized that his subordinates were not done with their business. Did something happen again? Thus, he specially came over to take a look. Xiao Yi only felt that the world was spinning. This skeleton was already very powerful, and it actually made the black mist so respectful. Then, what realm was this black mist at? Xiao Yi had never felt that he was so insignificant before. He felt that this black mist could kill him with a single finger. Just who are they? It's impossible that they are the people that man called over. How could this kind of expert be controlled by others? Wei Chang nodded. Death Mage stood up and took out his phone to type something. Then, he showed his phone. We pay our respects to Master. Everyone from the Shao family had their own dignity, but Death Mage had already released his might, causing everyone to kneel on the ground. Wei Chang looked at the person in front of him coldly. To actually dare to refuse to pay me back, you truly deserve to die. After taking over the document that Death Mage passed over, Wei Chang took a look at the document and kept it. Then, he said faintly, "Hurry up." Death Mage replied respectfully. And Wei Chang took another look at the document, then stepped into the black whirlpool and disappeared. Death Mage typed another word. Last minute. All of the women felt that they had provoked an extremely powerful person this time around. This was a feeling that they had never felt before. In the past, they felt that they still had the ability to fight back, but the person who just appeared did not even have the thought of fighting back. How could Xiao Yi not have the same feeling? That person just now was completely capable of killing all of us, so why did he want me to kill my beloved woman? Could it be that you all aren't afraid of me taking revenge? What Wei Chang was least afraid of was taking revenge. If the person behind me comes, you will slowly kill the woman beside me. Brother Xiao, don't take revenge for me, live on properly, we cannot afford to provoke them. Nangong Sini gave the most rational suggestion to Xiao Yi. The other party is like a titan, and we are just ants. It is already a kind of leniency for them to not kill all of us. Only until death did Nangong Sini realize this point. Just how lucky is it to only kill one person? Without waiting for Xiao Yi to react, Nangong Sini grabbed onto Xian Yuan's sword that was in her husband's hand and fiercely pulled. TSK, this was the sound of a sharp object piercing into flesh. Xian Yuan's sword pierced through Nangong Sini's abdomen, and the tip of the sword that was dripping with blood appeared on Nangong Sini's back. Sini! Xiao Yi roared out as he looked at his own hand in disbelief. I killed my beloved. No! Xiao Yi hugged onto his wife and roared towards the sky, and tears of blood flowed out from the corner of his eyes. Nangong Sini, who was lying in her husband's embrace, revealed out a trace of a smile and said weakly, Brother Xiao, your embrace is still so warm. After finished speaking, Nangong Sini slowly closed her beautiful eyes, and Death Mage disappeared from Xiao residence as well. Death Mage was preparing to collect his debt. Xiao residence's main hall was filled with a sorrowful atmosphere. Xiao Yi sat on the ground and foolishly hugged onto his wife's corpse. Both of his eyes were already unfocused, and he looked as if he had become demented. Chapter 106. Because of the angle, Xiaoyun didn't see his mother, who was in his father's embrace. Daddy, I miss Mommy. Hearing his son's words, tears of regret flowed out from Xiao Yi's eyes. Shu Nan immediately carried Xiaoyun and pretended that nothing happened, then said with a smile, Yun, Mommy went out tonight to earn money for Yun, Xiaoyun pouted his small mouth. Mommy also said that I will accompany Yun, to sign up for the children's soccer team tomorrow. Yun, be good, I will accompany you to sign up for the soccer team, okay? Daddy is very tired today, and I need to rest tomorrow. Shu Nan comforted Nangong Sini's only son, but every word that she said made her heart ache. "And Yun is very good. When mommy comes back, let mommy watch Yun-er's match. Mommy will definitely watch Yun-er's match, and I will also cheer for Yun-er." The corner of the little fellow's mouth raised up. "Mommy will definitely be proud of Yun-er." When Shu Nan carried Xiao Yun and left, mournful cries rang out in the living room. Xiao Yi carried his beloved wife's corpse and looked at the pitch-black sky outside. After a long while, Xiao Yi said gravely, "Sini's death will not be announced to the public. I will find a way to save her. As for the hatred of killing my wife, absolutely irreconcilable. If I admit defeat so easily, then I wouldn't be an immortal emperor. Xiao Yi swore that when I recover to my peak strength, I will settle all the old and new grudges together." As for why he concealed the news of Xiao Yi's death, Xiao Yi didn't want anyone to know that someone killed his beloved wife, and that he was powerless to do anything about it. If Wei Chang knew what Xiao Yi was thinking right now, he would definitely use his honor's words. "A salted fish will always be a salted fish, even if it turns over, it will still be a salted fish." Xiao family was destined to have a tragedy tonight. However, in the eyes of Wei Chang and the others, this kind of ending was extremely fortunate. If it was in the past, Xiao family would have already been exterminated. As for keeping Xiao Yi alive, it wasn't that Yihua didn't think about it. After all, life is as dull as water, and it is still possible to occasionally have some fun. I just hope that Xiao Yi will work hard and not let me down. However, as a supreme overlord, Yihua was currently facing a headache. Qingya was actually lying on his chest and talking in her sleep. "Yihua, I'm going to spank your butt, you high and mighty fellow." Qingya hugged onto Yihua's body like a koala bear while clamoring. From time to time, Qingya would punch onto Yihua's body. Although the punches were very light, it was enough to wake Yihua up. This foolish woman, she actually dares to say such unrealistic words. How can my butt be something that you can hit? Even when I am sleeping, you are still so restless. God knows where the blanket has been moved to. Yihua let out a sigh, then lowered the temperature of the air conditioner by a bit, then covered that alluring and lovely body of hers. After that, he stood up and walked into his office, lit up a cigarette and looked at the full moon. "Your Honor." Not knowing when, Wei Chang appeared behind Yihua and was respectfully kneeling on the ground. Wei Chang took out the document bag and said, "Your Honor, the matter has been settled." Yihua silently took a puff of the cigarette, then puffed out a lump of smoke. At first glance, the smoke actually formed a skull, but very quickly, the skull dissipated. Compared to money, what Yihua cared more about was whether the mysterious person was dead or not. Who did she kill? Xiao Yi's true love, Nangong Sini. Yihua thought back to the woman who was at the banquet that night, and he didn't have any good impression of her. "If Your Honor is not satisfied, subordinate can go and kill a few more of them," Wei Chang said coldly. "I feel that Your Honor doesn't seem to be satisfied." "No need, don't forget our identity, we are law-abiding people. Your Honor is wise, subordinate is truly enlightened." Yihua flicked the cigarette ash. "Oh right, how is Long Out inside?" "Subordinate has arranged for people to watch over him, he won't be jumping out to cause trouble in a short period of time." Yihua extinguished the cigarette and said faintly, "Just let them work hard for a bit, if not, they won't know what true despair is." Wei Chang's eyes shone. His honor has really changed. In the past, his honor would always push his way forward, but now, he knows how to strategize. Your honor's good fortune is as boundless as the heavens, subordinate is far inferior to you. Yihua patted onto Wei Chang's shoulder. Heavens. Hee, go back and sleep early, don't let your little girlfriend wait for too long. Ah. Wei Chang didn't explain. As an overlord subordinate, even I don't know how to open my mouth, so I asked Lai Gu. And Lai Gu's answer was very straightforward: if you take off your pants, then do it. Could it be that you are going to wear your pants and do it? Wei Chang couldn't be as straightforward as Lai Gu. Xiao Tang is a good girl, how can she be compared to those celebrities? Originally, I had that thought tonight, and I had even prepared the condoms, but in the end, didn't an accident occur? Forget it, I feel so vexed, I should just ask His Honor to give me an idea. Lai Gu is too unreliable. Your Honor, subordinate has a question, I hope that Your Honor can enlighten subordinate. Yi Hua, who was preparing to return, turned around and asked curiously, what is it? Wei Chang stammered, feeling a little embarrassed. Looking at Wei Chang's expression, Yi Hua became even more curious. This kind of expression doesn't seem to be something that should appear on Wei Chang's face. Speak. Wei Chang threw caution to the wind and asked, Your Honor, I want to do that with Xiao Tang, how can I do that? How can I make Xiao Tang agree to do that with subordinate? That? Yi Hua was a bit stupefied. That is mating. Luckily, the lights were switched off, if not, Yi Hua would be able to see Wei Chang's red face. Yi Hua thought that it was something important, but it turns out that it is mating. However, how can Wei Chang use such a word to describe it? But thinking about it, Wei Chang's true body was originally a monster. Yi Hua paused for a moment. When a subordinate is in trouble, as the boss, of course, I have to step forward and solve it. I do have some experience. Wei Chang was overjoyed. I hope that Your Honor can guide me. Just push him down directly. I didn't expect that His Honor would be the same as Lai Gu, simple and crude. The idol dramas that I watched aren't like that, they are very bashful. Subordinate understands. Wei Chang could only accept it humbly. In this aspect, you have to learn more from Lai Gu. Yi Hua said faintly, then walked out of the office, leaving behind Wei Chang, who was in a daze. Seems like His Honor is also unable to solve my problem, perhaps I can only seek help from the madam, this is so annoying. Lying back on the bed, Qingye, who was beside Yi Hua, asked in a low voice, You went to smoke again? Qingye changed her posture and hugged onto Yi Hua, then asked faintly, What do you want to eat tomorrow morning? Sailong Bao. Yi Hua moved slightly and hugged onto Qingye's shoulder. Right now, I have already come to a conclusion, this woman will only be obedient on the bed, as long as she gets off the bed, it seems like she will change into another person. Thinking about it, Yi Hua once again fell asleep. Not knowing how long had passed, the sound of splashing water rang out beside Yi Hua's ears. It actually started raining heavily early in the morning. Yi Hua's right hand moved, and his brows wrinkled. Where is she? Immediately, Yi Hua opened his eyes, and the woman beside him actually disappeared. This caused Yi Hua's heart to sink. The bedroom door was suddenly pushed open. Aya, why is it raining while buying breakfast? Qingye pouted her small mouth and complained. Qingye's beautiful hair could be seen dripping wet, her shoulders were completely drenched, her beautiful face was filled with water droplets, and her delicate hands were carrying Xilong Bao and kelp soup that was already packed. Perhaps because she was jogging, a lot of soup had spilled out. Chapter 107. Qingye placed the soup dumplings on the plate, then turned her head around and looked towards Yi Hua. Why are you still in a daze for? Quickly go and wash your face and brush your teeth, it won't taste good if it gets cold. Yi Hua wrinkled his brows, seemingly a bit unhappy. Come over. What? Qingye is the same as well. I went out early in the morning to buy food for you to eat, yet when you come back, you don't even give me a good look. I am simply unable to communicate with you. If I ask you to come over, then just come over, why are you talking so much nonsense? Yi Hua's tone became heavier, causing Qingye to feel very unhappy and wronged. However, he wanted to see what this bastard was going to do. If he took an inch, he would definitely run away from home this time. With a face filled with coldness, Qingye sat beside Yihua, and when Yihua saw Qingye's wet appearance, he wished that he could slap this foolish woman awake. Doesn't she know how to take shelter from the rain? Yihua stretched out his hand and placed it on Qingye's back. A gentle radiance appeared on Yihua's palm, and Qingye's beautiful hair and clothes were gradually dried. Don't you know to bring an umbrella when you go out? Why are you so stupid? Yihua lectured. Originally, Qingye thought that Yihua would fly into a rage, and didn't expect that it would be like this. Feeling the warmth coming from Yihua's back, Qingye's heart felt like it was about to melt. This fellow is just too concerned about my face. Qingye snorted, isn't it all for the sake of letting you eat something hot? Looking at Qingye's slightly arrogant appearance, Yihua suddenly had the urge to push her down, just like how he dealt with her that night. However, Yihua endured this urge. The words that the Supreme Overlord had said are like water that was spilled out. It is absolutely impossible for me to make irresponsible remarks. Not long later, Qingye's clothes dried up. Yihua stood up and said faintly, let's go out and eat breakfast together tomorrow. After finished speaking, Qingye went to wash up, leaving behind the adorable Qingye. However, right now, Qingye was still feeling very happy in her heart. In actuality, having a cultivator as a husband is not bad. To think that a cultivator actually knows how to dry clothes, in the future, I will even have money left for ironing clothes. Yihua had a bit of understanding towards the soup dumplings. After dipping the soup dumpling into the chili sauce, the soup dumpling would become bright red, and it would look very appetizing. With a bite, the meat filling of the soup dumpling and the chili sauce would mix together in the mouth, and it would feel very comfortable. However, eating a steamed bun and drinking a mouthful of kelp soup was a perfect match. In actuality, the reason why Yihua was willing to stay in this world and not leave was also because of food. Yihua, bring me along after breakfast, Yihua asked faintly, addicted? How can this be called addiction? When I can eat chicken on my own, it will be a great success. I'm still addicted. It's not addiction. You're really addicted. Yihua, do you want to quarrel again? I'm bored anyway. Let's quarrel first. Qingye, this fellow was much gentler yesterday, but he was still the same today. He even said that he was bored and quarreled first. What kind of husband and wife would quarrel for no reason? I am already full, you can eat by yourself. Qingye pouted coquettishly, then turned around and walked towards her little sister's room. Yihua drank a mouthful of kelp soup, then said faintly, you are still addicted to it. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Yihua picked up the documents from the office, then went to Qing Yutong's room. As expected, Qing Yutong was sitting alone in the room, and Qing Yutong had a serious look on her face. His results were not bad. He actually managed to get to 15. His chances of getting chicken dinner were very high. However, Yihua decided to let Qingye experience the feeling of a black screen. Casually walking past the power source, Qingye, who was extremely nervous, suddenly went into a daze. Why did the screen turn black? When she turned her head around to take a look, she discovered that her man's leg was touching the power source. Yihua. Oh, I accidentally kicked it. Yihua turned his head around and looked elsewhere. I'm going to fight it out with you. Qingye immediately jumped onto Yihua's body, seemingly wanting to suffocate Yihua to death. Do you know how it feels now? This was the revenge of a supreme overlord. Qingye punched onto Yihua's chest with her small fists. Yihua took out the document bag and waved it in front of Qingye's eyes. Take a look. Humph, what is this? Qingye jumped down and took over the document bag from Yihua's hands. Don't think that by gifting me a few things, I will be able to forgive your actions just now. You have to bring me to eat chicken dinner for an entire day. Qingye pouted her small mouth and mumbled. However, when she saw the contents of the document bag, she was completely stupefied. Pointing at the document bag, then pointing at Yihua, she was shocked to the point that she couldn't speak. Yihua sighed. Just this little thing and she is already shocked to this extent. After a while, Qingye calmed down. Yihua, Shao family returned the money to us, is this true? Could it be that this is fake? That's not right, they won't return the money to us. They aren't prepared to return the money to us, so I asked someone to go and check the accounts. Fortunately, they are tactful and returned the money to me. Yihua sat beside Qin Yutong's bed and said with a lukewarm tone, but there was a suspicion of him bragging, which was commonly known as acting cool. Debao, the Xian Yuan sword has been snatched away by Shao Yi. This time, we must obtain the ancient godly item. Bai Cixin heaved a sigh of relief. She turned around and combed her husband's hair. The Bai family seemed powerful, but they were still far from being able to compete with some of the ancient aristocratic families and sections. Other people had been through the baptism of time, and their foundations were very strong, whereas Bai family only lacked an ancient godly item, and with that, they would be able to stand on equal footing with Shao family. Surpassing Shao family would only be a matter of time. Wang Debao hugged his wife's waist. Don't worry, isn't it just an ancient godly item? I will definitely help my wife get it back. Debao, you have to be careful. I can only stand guard here. I can't help you much. Wang Debao laughed heartily and lifted Bai Cixin's chin. Wife, wash up and wait for your husband to come back. You aren't being serious again, Bai Cixin pinched onto her husband's waist. Meanwhile, Wang Debao carried his wife and returned to the bed. Seems like there will be another round of overtime. The news of an ancient godly item appearing in Long and City swept through the whole of Huaxia in an instant. The rich merchants and Yun sect in Long and City were extremely furious. Just which bastard leaked the information? In actuality, the ones who were the most furious were those rich merchants. Originally, they thought that there were only some ordinary treasures inside, and they didn't expect that there were even ancient godly items inside. No wonder Yun sect was so courteous. Only now did they know the real reason, they were too cunning. The whole south started to move, and they all rushed towards Long and City. Even if they couldn't obtain it, it was fine for them to have a look. The northerners also started to move, and they secretly snuck into the south. After all, the treasure appeared in the south this time, and the sects and families in the north did not have the qualifications to get involved. Just like how the Xian Yuan sword appeared back then, the south did not get involved either. However, just last night, a lot of people heard about the might of the Xian Yuan sword, and it was practically exactly the same as what was said in the legends. However, right now, a second ancient godly item appeared. How could the northerners sit still? Without a doubt, Long and City, which was a second-tier city, was going to be in turmoil. Qingye, divert the firepower from the side. Qingye, drive. Qingye, give me the level 3 helmet. Qingye, support me. Go and die. Qingye snorted. Even if I die, I still have to support you. I have to give all the good equipment to you. Yihua took a sideways glance at Qingye. If I die, who is going to carry you to eat chicken? Have you ever carried me to eat chicken before? Isn't it because you're too noob? At most, you can be considered as a level 4 bun. Yihua said indifferently, angering Qingye half to death. Who are you calling a level 4 bun? Qingye shouted out gravely. A quarrel was going to happen at any moment. Could it be that there is someone else in this room? I'm going to fight it out with you. Qingye directly jumped onto Yihua's thigh, and the posture was rather ambiguous. Children, please close your eyes. At this moment, the door of the room was suddenly pushed open, and Yihua and Qinya immediately looked towards the door. Qin Yutong could be seen dragging her luggage and looking at her big sister and brother-in-law with an adorable look. You two are actually doing that in the room of an unmarried girl in broad daylight. You two are too perverted. Qin Yutong's face collapsed and said pitifully, as if she would not be able to get married in the future. Qinya glared at Yihua fiercely and stood up. Why didn't you two give me a call? Big sister will go and pick you up. I almost blew up your phone calling. I think that you two can't wait for me to not go home. Qinya touched her pocket, and only then did she remember that her phone was still in the bedroom, and Yihua's phone was most probably in the bedroom as well. Yutong, big sister will treat you to a big meal at noon. You want to pacify your little sister's hurt mood with just a meal. Whatever you say, in any case, big sister only has money left right now. Yihua leaned against the window and lit up a cigarette. Qinya, it is almost noon, hurry up and sell the food. I'll go and get my phone. Qin Yutong was about to kneel down to Yihua. These two are planning to be otakus to death. In the past, big sister wasn't an otakus at all, but I didn't expect that after getting together with brother-in-law, she would instantly become an otakus, and even the company doesn't care about her anymore. If this goes on, I will be more or less the same as brother-in-law, facing bankruptcy. Qinya found her phone on the table in the bedroom and opened it to take a look. She discovered that there were a lot of missed calls, and among the missed calls were from Yutong and her father. Helpless, she could only call them. Dad. What's going on with Xiao family? Qin Huashuan's questioning voice immediately rang out from the phone. Qinya replied faintly, I don't know. You still don't know? Do you know how many people are distancing themselves from us? Isn't that even better? You are able to clearly distinguish who is good to you and who is bad to you. Chapter 109. All right. Good. Good. Now that your wings have grown, don't you? If you have the ability, then don't go back home for your entire life. On the other side of the phone, Qing Huaxian was practically roaring. If you don't want to go back, then I won't go back. Qinya was someone who was susceptible to coaxing but not coercion. The more it was like this, the more Qinya resisted. After hanging up her father's phone call, Qinya's mood wasn't that good. If I compare Yihua with my father, I suddenly discovered that Yihua is much better than my father. At least Yihua wouldn't berate me because of other people. After adjusting her mentality, Qinya walked towards her little sister's room. What do you want to eat? I'll treat you. KFC. KFC family bucket. Qin Yutong raised her hand and said while smiling. Qinya shook her head. These two are just children. In any case, I am a person who has a net worth of 100 billion, and yet, the two of you only eat KFC. Seeing that big sister finish picking, Qin Yutong blinked her beautiful eyes. Brother-in-law, big sister, how about we go for a round? I have the same intention. Yihua said faintly. You think I'm afraid of you? 3 consecutive players immediately went online, and of course, they would be playing in a party. On the way, the cold and aloof Yihua and Qinya had always been silent, and only Qin Yutong would be chattering and flirting with other people. And this time was no exception. They met a passerby. This round was a mirage, and the 3 people appeared very quickly. Qin Yutong was already impatient to tease people. Little brother. Big sister. Qin Yutong shouted out sweetly. If the other party was a big brother, he would definitely become a level 4 backpack for me. Even my brother-in-law has a big sister to become a level 4 backpack, so I naturally want to have someone to run errands for me. After waiting for more than 10 seconds, the other party did not reply, and Qin Yutong thought to herself that something is wrong. Could it be that the other party is a female? Big brother, do you have a microphone? Qin Yutong asked. Finally, the passerby replied, just that. This sentence made Qin Yutong's face turn black. Aunt, hello, Yihua and Qinya were both wearing earphones, and they were able to hear each other's voice. Yihua let out a sigh. This is really like that saying, you will never know who your teammates are. Bringing along 2 level 4 bags is already very disadvantageous for me, and now, I still have to bring along a burden. Qin Yutong took a deep breath. This little fellow actually called me aunt. Auntie. Oh my god, I'm still a virgin. Little friend, not auntie, it's big sister. Qin Yutong's smile was very forced. A trace of an arc appeared on the corner of Yihua and Qinya's mouth. We finally got to see Qin Yutong being teased instead. Mother said that only children who are about the same age as Ali are called big brother and big sister. Auntie, your voice is so nice, it's about the same age as mother, so you must be much older than Ali. In an instant, a few black lines appeared on Qin Yutong's brows, especially when she heard the phrase, a lot bigger. She made herself look like an old witch. But this little guy is not bad. He knows how to flatter me and say that my voice is nice. Little fellow, how old are you, to actually play games? Have you done your homework or not? Seeing that Qin Yutong was unable to be stubborn anymore, Qin Yutong began to use her age to bully Qin Yutong. Ali has finished the homework assigned by mother. Auntie, don't you need to go to work? I heard that adults who don't go to work are no different from salted fish. The immature voice of a little girl rang out from the earpiece. Qin Yutong had met an opponent with high strength. Yihua and Qinya took a look at each other. We are both jobless people. Qin Yutong coughed lightly to express her awkwardness. In actuality, her entire person was in a bad mood. Little fellow, Auntie has a special occupation, you still haven't told Auntie how old you are. Ali will be 3 years old this year. The 3 immediately went into a daze. It is actually a little kid who is almost 3 years old. Qin Yutong felt very sullen, being bullied by a little kid who is almost 3 years old. However, it is normal for a little kid who is almost 3 years old to call me auntie. This is so painful, being called auntie by someone. Qin Yutong asked curiously, where's your mother? Mother went out. Why are you calling mother? Why aren't you calling mother? Ali doesn't know either. Then, what about your father? Mother said that father died. The little fellow's tone immediately became downcast. Qinya glared at her little sister. How can you go and bully a child? Ali, I'm sorry. Auntie, it's alright, Ali is already used to it. Although the little girl said it very casually, the 3 could tell that her tone was very downcast, and Qinya subconsciously rubbed onto her stomach. Qin Yutong patted onto her chest. Ali, don't worry, Auntie will bring you to eat chicken. Is Auntie very powerful? Of course, Auntie is a beautiful girl warrior, I can take down everything in a matter of minutes. That's great, are the other 2 Auntie's friends as well? Ali asked with her childish voice. Qin Yutong giggled, that's right, they are all cold type, they don't talk at all. Uncle and Auntie are all cold type, my mother is also a bit like that, everyone is afraid of her. Ali said in a low voice, seemingly as if she was afraid of being heard by others. Qinya let out a sigh. Thanks to my little sister, I have also become an auntie. Very quickly, the 4 entered the plane, and the 4 prepared to jump. Qin Yutong gave the order, we are going to jump to a place with fewer people, and develop wretchedly. Auntie, why are we going to jump to a place with fewer people? Ali often jumps to a boxing gym. Yihua, Qinya, Qin Yutong, to actually ask why are we going to jump to a place with fewer people, is there even a need to ask? Of course, it's because we are noobs, and we are prepared to stay low all the way. However, as an elder, how can I be looked down upon by a child? Qin Yutong said gravely, isn't Auntie afraid that Ali will get hurt? That's why we are going to jump to a place with fewer people. Auntie, don't worry, Ali often wins chicken dinner. Yihua, Qingye, Qing Yutong was very hurt. She sneaked a glance at her brother-in-law and big sister, and their expressions were the same as well. So miserable, Yihua decided to bring them to win chicken dinner this round, only then would he be able to display the strength of a supreme overlord. If I don't win chicken dinner this round, I will quit smoking for an hour. The four of them all jumped to the boxing gym, and there were quite a lot of people that jumped to the boxing gym. There were even 2 teams of people that jumped to the boxing gym. Yihua definitely has to display his true strength and let them know what an expert is. However, here came the problem: the entire boxing gym actually didn't have any loot. Not even a frying pan could be found. In actuality, it wasn't that Yihua hadn't seen this kind of situation before. He would occasionally bump into it a few times, but he didn't pay too much attention to it. However, today's situation was different. How could he not have any guns? At the same time, in the red building below the boxing gym, one of the rooms was filled with equipment: M4, 98K, level 3 helmet, level 3 armor, all kinds of bullets and medicine. F***K. What kind of luck does this streamer have, to actually bump into such a thing the moment he opened the door? Brother, I'm afraid that this is your first time coming to see this streamer. Let me tell you, this streamer really didn't cheat. In any case, I am already in awe of the streamer's luck. If the airdrop didn't hit his face, then he would have really cheated. Chapter 110. Yihua, who was in the boxing dojo, was very annoyed. The 2 salted fishes were actually chasing after him and beating him up. This is also a game. If it was in reality, I would turn the 2 of you into a pool of blood. Brother-in-law, I'm here to save you. Qing Yutong suddenly jumped out from an unknown place and punched towards Qing Yutong. Yihua saw that half of his health bar was gone. This must be a spy sent by the enemy, right? Qing Yutong's head shrunk back. Brother-in-law, this is purely an accident. Who asked you to suddenly stop just now? Yihua was really speechless. This was already not the first time. There was another time when someone took out a 98K and aimed it at his head. Afterward, his helmet was destroyed, and the excuse was that his hand shook a little. Brother-in-law, be careful. Just when Yihua was absent-minded, a player jumped up high into the air and punched towards Yihua's head. Bang! It was the sound of a revolver. The person who jumped up was instantly shot in the head. His companion saw that someone else had a gun and immediately ran away. Bang! Another headshot. Yihua and the other 2 were stupefied. Ali ran over and asked in a childish voice, "Uncle, are you okay? I have some bandages here." Yihua felt hurt, really hurt. I have never felt so sullen before. I was actually saved by a little girl, and she even gave me a bandage. My God, the host in the red building had just finished cleaning up and was about to go to the boxing gym when he heard the sound of a revolver. The host's expression changed drastically. Host, run. The revolver monster has appeared again. Host, where there's life, there's hope. Run. Why did you guys tell the host to run? You guys don't know, but the host has been tortured by this revolver monster a few times in the past few days. After that, whenever she hears the sound of a revolver, she will take a detour. The host's equipment can't even beat a pistol. Sigh, it's not that the host is bad, but that the opponent is too strong. Sure enough, the host chose to drive away. He had tried countless times in the past, but he had always died under the revolver's marksmanship. The opponent was too brutal. With a pistol, little Ali was simply like a god slaying god. In just a short while, the entire boxing gym was cleared out. Yihua, who was holding on to his wife and sister-in-law, looked at the boxing gym blankly, and a feeling of powerlessness emerged from the bottom of his heart. Next, it was little Ali's turn to perform. Uncle, Auntie, please stay in the car. Let Ali charge first. Dong dong dong. Gunshots and grenades rang out from the house in front. Uncle, Auntie, you can come in and loot now. Yi Hua was very hurt. Qin Ye and Qin Yutong liked Yi Hua very much. This child is too interesting. Ali, why don't you let Aunt charge together with you? It's so dangerous for you to go alone. Qin Ye also started talking to Ali. Ali was very cheerful, and her sweet voice was very lovable. Ali said in a childish voice, if Uncle and Auntie come, Ali will be distracted. Yi Hua, Qin Ye, Qin Yutong, from the looks of it, Ali had treated the three of them as burdens. Yi Hua was too hurt, and he didn't even want to continue playing anymore. To actually be treated as a burden by a little girl. Ali could be seen driving the pickup truck, and the pickup truck was completely silent. Uncle, Auntie, why aren't you talking? Was it because their equipment was too bad? Ali will snatch the airdrop for you. Looking at Yi Hua's expression, Qin Ye laughed out. Qin Yutong also looked over, and upon discovering that her brother-in-law's face was as black as coal, Qin Yutong immediately laughed out. Little Ali was confused. Auntie, what are you all laughing at? Qin Ye said tenderly, we are laughing at Uncle, he is too jealous of Ali. Ali seemed to have suddenly come to a realization. Uncle, I'm sorry. Ali stole your limelight and made you lose face in front of Auntie. The faces of the three immediately froze. Qin Ye and Qin Yutong immediately laughed to the point where they were gasping for breath. Little Ali is too cute, she actually said it out loud. Yi Hua endured the pain in his chest and said while gnashing his teeth, Ali, you played well. It's alright, Ali only played for a few days. Yi Hua almost vomited blood. Ali is the strongest opponent that I have ever met. Before even exchanging blows, I was already angered to the point that I almost vomited blood. Every single sentence that Ali said was filled with killing intent. With little Ali, Yi Hua entered the finals without any difficulty. Furthermore, there were only 5 players left. 4 versus 1. It's over, the anchor is going to die. A song of death for the anchor. You guys don't need to say any more, the anchor is very formidable. She fought her way to the finals with 4 players. What's the use of not getting chicken? The commenter above is correct. Yi Hua didn't even know what he was doing in this round. I clearly wanted to show off my strength, but in the end, I didn't even do anything and reached the finals. Furthermore, I was even brought into the finals by a little child. If this were to be spread out, where would I put my face? This game is poisonous. Uncle, Auntie, Ali, take care of him. This way, it will be fair. After finished speaking, little Ali rushed out. In less than 10 seconds, little Ali had already gotten rid of her opponent and got chicken. This was the first time in Yi Hua's life that he got chicken without doing anything. Qin Ye and Qin Yutong were extremely excited. The anchor is so miserable, he got beaten up. That's right, he is too weak, I'm unsubscribing. The anchor's heart was also collapsing. It is my fault that my opponent is too savage. Don't leave, as long as I don't meet with a revolver monster, I will definitely get chicken. Qin Ye and Qin Yutong excitedly hugged each other and celebrated. Meanwhile, Yi Hua's face was cold and unhappy. Little Ali, tell Auntie what is your name? Qin Ye asked curiously. Qin Yutong directly gave up on her brother-in-law and went to hug onto little Ali's thigh. That's right, Ali will bring Aunt to eat chicken. But mother said that I can't tell strangers Ali's name. Little Ali said pitifully, as if he was very afraid of his mother. Qin Yutong said tenderly, is Auntie a bad person? Of course I'm not a bad person. Then tell Auntie your name, little Ali. After a moment of silence, Ali's cute voice rang out, Uncle, Auntie, my name is Dong Huangli. Just as Ali reported his name, a woman's voice came from the headset. "Li. Why are you playing games again? Have you finished your homework?" When Yihua heard this voice, his brows slightly wrinkled. Little Ollie went offline. Qingye and Qing Yutong were depressed, and they were really worried for little Ollie. Her mother seemed to be very strict, and it could be seen from her tone just now. "The takeout hasn't arrived yet. What's their phone number? I want to go and file a complaint." Yihua had a stomach full of anger but had no place to vent it. "I actually got a chicken without doing anything." Seeing Yihua's angry look, Qingye and Qing Yutong couldn't help but laugh. Qingye consoled, "Yihua, she is just a child, look at you, I'm sorry. I can't help but want to laugh again. Big sister, I beg of you, don't laugh anymore, my abs are about to come out." The two sisters took a look at each other, then once again burst out with laughter. Chapter 111. However, that little girl just now was indeed formidable, this point has to be confirmed. It's just that, these two silly women, are they that funny? I just don't want to cheat. When is my little nephew coming out? When the time comes, he will bring Mom and Nan to eat chicken. Qing Yutong rubbed onto her big sister's stomach and giggled. Qingye revealed out a beautiful smile. It would be great if the little fellow was as obedient as that little girl just now, he wouldn't be like his father. What are you talking about? He should be like me. Yihua said gravely. Qingye snorted, seeing how pitiful you are, I won't bicker with you. At this time, the takeaway arrived. After eating a spicy chicken burger, Yihua walked down the stairs. The two sisters smiled but didn't say anything. After all, being dealt a blow by a little girl who wasn't even 3 years old was indeed quite hurtful. Walking down to the bar counter, Yihua mixed the wine that he liked, then lit up a cigarette. After taking a puff, he took a sip of the wine. This is life, the vexing matter is gone in an instant. After taking the wine and the cigarette, Yihua sat in the booth and slowly sunk into deep thoughts. Being invincible really feels so empty. Even if I win, I won't be able to make my heart feel happy. In the past, I still had opponents who were on par with me, and some of them were even stronger than me. The excitement in battle was so refreshing, but now, I really miss my previous opponents, and also those overlords who formed a group to kill me. I wonder if they are living well now. If they are living too well, then I will find a time to make them not living so well. Since I was dealt a blow by that little girl, I can only vent my anger on you two. If you two want to blame someone, then blame little Ollie. While thinking, Yihua fell asleep. Not knowing how long had passed, a voice rang out beside his ear. Your Honor. Your Honor. Yihua wrinkled his brows. Noticing that Wei Chang was standing beside him, he let out a breath of relief and sat up. Lighting up a cigarette, he looked at the time and said, Why are you here already at 5? Your Honor, subordinate just finished a meeting with Xiao Tang, and I don't plan on going back. Wei Chang bowed and said respectfully at the side. Yihua stood up and picked up the cigarette box on the table. Did you push her down? Subordinate feels that this matter needs to be handled carefully. Yihua nodded his head and said faintly, Not bad, you know how to think. Thank you for your praise, Your Honor. Wei Chang said with a smile. To be able to receive his honor's praise is such an honorable thing. Xiao Tang is truly my lucky star. While smoking, Yihua prepared to go upstairs. However, just when he stepped onto the stairs, he seemed to have thought of something and shouted out, Wei Chang, come over, I have something to ask you. Wei Chang jogged over, Your Honor, do you have anything to tell me? Yihua leaned on the railing of the stairs, then asked with his brows wrinkled, Do you still remember that woman from 3 years ago? 3 years ago. Wei Chang muttered. Why did Your Honor suddenly ask about this matter? Wei Chang asked curiously. Yihua puffed out a mouthful of smoke. It's nothing, I just suddenly thought of it. His honor is reminiscing about the past. His humanity is getting better and better. Subordinate congratulates his honor. Pausing for a moment, Wei Chang continued, compared to your honor's first woman, madam is much luckier. Yihua's interest was piqued. He straightforwardly sat at the side and listened to his subordinate's analysis. Tell me, how lucky is madam? This subordinate does not dare to casually evaluate madam. Yihua glared at him and said coldly, I asked you to speak, so speak. You are already evaluating madam. Wei Chang was frightened to the point that he directly kneeled down. It's all my fault, why did I say madam? This subordinate deserves to die. If you still don't speak, I will let Lai Gu go and kill your Xiao Tang. Yihua said faintly. In actuality, he just wanted to see how Wei Chang would react. As expected, Wei Chang became anxious, but very quickly, he hid his emotions. This subordinate will speak right now. Yihua slowly closed his eyes and waited for Wei Chang to speak. Your honor's first woman, this subordinate still remembers it vividly. After all, she was the first human woman that your honor had ever touched. Her appearance was extremely beautiful, and only madam's beauty could compete with her. However, for her to be able to receive your honor's favor, it is also her good fortune that she cultivated. Tell me the main point, how did madam get lucky? Yihua said faintly. Wei Chang swallowed his saliva. Does your honor feel that there is any difference between 3 years ago and now? Yihua did not speak. 3 years ago, your honor's personality was still very unstable and moody, but now, your honor is able to control those emotions. Madam waited for your honor for 3 days, and your honor went downstairs to meet with her. From this, it can be seen that your honor has a compassionate heart. However, that woman was not as lucky as madam. 2 months later, she came to Leisure Bar and waited for your honor for half a month, and your honor did not even come down to meet with her. Yihua slowly opened his eyes. She waited for me for half a month. You seem to have never told me about this before. Just like what subordinate said, back then, your honor was very unstable, and before subordinate could even open my mouth, your honor told subordinate to scram. Yihua extinguished the cigarette. There is such a thing. Right now, Wei Chang had learned how to read someone's expression and figure out what someone was thinking, just like now. Does your honor want subordinate to go down and look for her? Wei Chang asked. Yihua slowly walked upstairs and said calmly, no need, that one person has already made me worried to death. Wei Chang laughed. Madam is, after all, a human, her words and actions are naturally different from your honor. Go and do your work. Yes. Regarding the first woman, Yihua suddenly thought of her today. Just like what Yihua had said, he would only touch the same woman once. This time, Qingya was just an accident, because she was pregnant with Yihua's bloodline. If not, there wouldn't be such a thing. Yihua walked up to the second floor. He had already forgotten about the matter of the first woman. She was just a passerby in my life, so I should just slightly reminisce about her. Pushing open the door, Yihua could see Qingya and Qing Yutong sitting in front of the computer with a serious expression. The atmosphere was extremely tense. I wonder if they will come and look for me if I turn off the power. Forget it, am I, the supreme overlord, such a senseless person? Only a foolish woman like Qingya would do something like turning off the power. However, as my woman, she is actually not infatuated with me, and instead, she likes to play games. In the beginning, it was work, and now, in a blink of an eye, it became a game. Brother-in-law, look at me and big sister, both of us managed to get into the top 10, and we are going to get chicken dinner soon. Qing Yutong began to become excited. The two women could be seen lying on the haystack, and the main point was that the two of them still had nervous expressions on their faces. Yihua let out a sigh. It should be about time to finish this game, let's go out and eat. Sure. Yi Hua, can you not speak? Other people will hear what you say. Qingye said in a low voice. What else could Yi Hua say? Yi Hua straightforwardly lied down on his sister-in-law's bed and rested. Today, after being dealt a blow by little Ollie, I don't even want to play anymore. Chapter 112. Yutong, how about we play another round? Qingye was unwilling to admit defeat. And, the last round. Qing Yutong belonged to the type of person who would accompany him to the end, even if it was an all-nighter. It was the last round again. Yi Hua had already heard the last round countless of times. I really can't bear it anymore. Even if it is a childish thing, I still have to do it today. Ye Hua. Brother-in-law, how can you be like this? After unplugging the power, Yi Hua's face was filled with comfort. Even if you don't eat, my child still wants to eat. Isn't it just the last round? So stingy. Qingye pouted her mouth and went back to her room to change her clothes. I can't possibly wear pajamas when I go out, right? Qing Yutong looked at her brother-in-law and said tenderly, Brother-in-law, why aren't you going out yet? Could it be that you want to see sister-in-law change her clothes? Yi Hua took a glance at Qing Yutong, and Qing Yutong immediately crossed her arms around her chest and said shyly, Brother-in-law, big sister is still at the side, don't look at me like that. He's not bad looking. Of course. It's just that he's a little silly. Brother-in-law, Yi Hua turned around and left. This sister-in-law's return has indeed added a bit of joy to me. Qing Yutong, who was in the room, stomped her feet and mumbled, How am I stupid? Master, you are indeed a little silly sometimes. You're the stupid one. You're the most stupid person in the system. Master should understand the meaning of the saying, he who keeps company with ink will be stained black. All right. All of you have come to bully me. I will remember this debt. Master, you'd better write it down in your little notebook. I'm afraid you'll forget the oath you made. Qing Yutong clicked her tongue. Don't mention my dark history. After Qingye finished changing her clothes, she said to Yi Hua, You go and change your clothes as well. It's summertime and you are still wearing a suit. Where is the short-sleeved shirt that you wore yesterday? It's too childish. Don't be long-winded, go in and change. Right now, Qingye didn't want Yi Hua to be too stylish, lest some wild bees fly over to him. Qingye walked downstairs and discovered that Leisure Bar was about to open for business, and everyone was starting to get busy. Madam. Wei Chang walked over and greeted respectfully. Qingye smiled gently, Wei Chang, what's wrong? Wei Chang looked at Tang Wei, who was not far away. She was currently wiping the table and said in a low voice, Madam, Wei Chang has a request. Oh. If I can help you, I will definitely help you. Qingye said with a smile. Wei Chang respectfully said, Actually, it's not a big deal. Madam should know that this subordinate is dating little Tang. Qingye went into a slight daze for a moment. This Wei Chang claims to be my subordinate, so strange. However, after thinking about Yi Hua's identity, Qingye felt relieved. This Wei Chang might be Yi Hua's underling, which means that Wei Chang is my underling. When my husband's underling is in trouble, of course I have to help him. I know. Didn't you say it last time? Is it that Yi Hua is too stingy? I will go and talk to him. Upon thinking that Yi Hua was still using Wei Chang's salary in the past, Qingye felt helpless. Wei Chang was greatly startled. I didn't say that his honor is stingy, madam, you have misunderstood, subordinate is not talking about this matter. Then what is it? I feel that my relationship with Lil Tang can be improved, but I don't know where to start. Wei Chang was very embarrassed. He felt that he would lose face if he asked someone else, but asking his honor was equivalent to not asking at all. Thus, he could only ask the madam. Actually, Wei Chang asking Qingye was equivalent to asking in vain. After all, Qingye was also a newbie. This was the first time that Qingye had encountered this kind of problem, and she still didn't really understand what Wei Chang meant. Improved? To what stage? Qingye asked. Wei Chang let out a breath, then said in a low voice, "It is to reproduce offspring." Pfft, reproduce offspring, this really made Qingye speechless. Isn't this phrase a little too appropriate? Qingye paused for a moment. This problem is a bit thorny. Thinking back to my own experience, I don't seem to have any process. Yihua just pushed me, then when the conditions were right, success would follow naturally. If that's the case, then I can conclude the strategy of a man. Qingye said with an appearance of someone who had been through the same thing. Wei Chang, a man has to take the initiative, he just has to push her down directly. Wei Chang, who had a face full of anticipation, immediately froze. His honor is like this, even Madam gave the same answer. They really don't have any mood at all, just watch an idle drama, that romantic atmosphere. Seems like both his honor and Madam don't have any mood at all and went straight to the point. I, Wei Chang, am a man with mood, how can I be so casual about it? Seems like I can only rely on myself for this matter. Thank you, Madam, for your pointers. Qingye took a glance at the diligent Tang Wei and said, Lil Tang is a pretty good girl, don't let her down. This subordinate will follow Madam's instructions. Qingye really wasn't used to this kind of thing. Does everyone in the cultivation world speak like this? Goosebumps appeared all over his body. Sis, what are you guys talking about? Qing Yutong bounced down the stairs, and when Qingye saw her little sister's face, she immediately blushed with shame. Wei Chang bowed as a form of greeting before retreating. Qingye's eyebrows wrinkled. Why did you change into my appearance again? Big sister, you are beautiful. Qing Yutong held on to Qingye's willowy arm and said with a smile. What Qingye said was right, Qingye merely snorted. Not long after, Yihua walked down the stairs. This was the first time that Qing Yutong saw her brother-in-law wearing a short-sleeved shirt, and she teased, Brother-in-law, you are so childish. Yihua took a glare at Qingye, and the image of his main body was completely gone. With a smile on her face, Qingye walked forward and held onto her husband's arm. All right, let's go and cook hot pot. Qing Yutong immediately held onto her brother-in-law's other side. All right, let's go and prepare hot pot. Qing Yutong. What are you doing? What do you mean what? This is the etiquette of holding hands, do you know? Big sister, you are out. Yihua would naturally seize the opportunity to take revenge. You are indeed out. Just you wait. The three walked out of leisure bar while bickering. Wei Chang looked at his honor and thought to himself, his honor's change is really big. This is all thanks to the madam. At this moment, Tang Wei walked over slowly and called out tenderly, Uncle Wei, Xiao Tang, what's wrong? Uncle Wei, the light at my side is broken. The light is broken, huh? It's fine, Uncle Wei will go and fix it for you after work. All right. Not far away from the alley, there was a hot pot restaurant called King Song's Mansion's Hot Pot Restaurant. The name King Song's Mansion wasn't just for show. In the past, only the nobles could afford to eat at the hot pot, and right now, everyone could feel how fast the nobles' mouths were. Luckily, Yihua and the others left the house early. If not, they would have to line up at the restaurant. Even so, there were no more private rooms left, and they could only eat at the main hall. If it was according to Yihua's conduct in the past, he definitely wouldn't eat at the main hall, because it would lower his status. However, it was different now. After all, he had done things that were lower than his status before. For example, at the beginning, when he bought a Chinese jianbing, for the sake of adding an extra egg, he even argued with the aunt for a long time. Add an extra egg for me. 1 egg is 2 RMB. You still want money. It is your honor to be able to eat at your restaurant. Young fellow, it is your honor to be able to eat my Chinese jianbing. Yi Hua expressed that he was unconvinced. After arguing for half an hour, the ant finally said, "Don't think that just because you are handsome, you can do whatever you want. Ant is also beautiful before, I don't fall for this." You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.